I didn't see who that was, but it sounded like Irene, was it?
Yes, it was me.
Yeah, you know the voice.
Well, she's on every Friday tech call, so
Yes.
thank you.
Irene, I went to Whiteman Farms too.
Oh, you did? You
That
were
place
watching
was
my Facebook?
crazy. That place was so packed. We
I
like went
know.
there. I got scared and then we left kind of early.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. When I got there, it was like 2 or 3 p.m., something like that. And we saw so many people say, oh my God, this is not supposed to be a pandemic going on right now.
Oh, it was so busy, but their pie was so good.
All right,
I
guys.
didn't get the pie, but I did
Yes.
get the apple cider, the hot apple cider. You ever
Awesome.
try it? It's
Oh,
really good.
they have
Guys,
the best apple cider in the world. Whiteman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
guys, without
Thank you
further,
guys. It's definitely that time of year, and it's 11 o'clock. If you guys don't mind, I'd love to get started. Once again, thank you guys for being here. We'd like to definitely shout out the everybody that's collaborating with us, as well as our sponsors. As you see here, we have Keller Williams Team Realty, Cornerstone, Elite Realty, Premier Properties, Freedom Mortgage, Frank Valentino Home Inspection Services, Turnkey Inspection Services, and Guaranteed Rate. In addition to that, I have to truly say thank you to all of the members that were a part of making this happen, to include our Summit and Westfield team leader, Shannon Arnson, Leslie Cato, Joe Kozan, obviously India Webster from our office here in Clifton, and all the tech coordinators who have been essential in facilitating this today. So with that, we're here today to talk about the 6 personal perspectives. I'll kind of lay out a little bit of ground rules. I'd like to make this very interactive. If you guys want to raise your hand or write something in the chat as we're going through this, please feel free to do so. Don't feel like you're interrupting me. Just jump right on in and we'll kind of address things as we go along. I do like to have videos, so we'll see videos as we go along as well. If you do want to see the slides, I can definitely have them presented or given to the team leaders, and they'll disseminate them as needed. And let's see if I'm missing anything else. That is all. I definitely want back and forth participation, so I appreciate you guys in advance for that. For those of you that might not know me, my name is Jairo Rodriguez. I've been in the industry for about I just hit 5 years actually, end of September. My phone number's there, my email's there. If you need me for anything, if you'd like to just have a script practice partner or just somebody to bounce ideas off of, I'm always here. I know many people in our office know that, but that invitation is open to anybody on this call today. I am a husband. We're about to hit our 4-year mark here in February. With that, I've become a father to a soon-to-be 3-year-old, end of this month actually, and we have our second child on the way. February 8th is the due date, so keep your prayers for us on that there. I've been a member of the ALC for a little over 3 years now, something that I'm extremely proud of. In addition to that, in 2018, I was elected and had the honor and the privilege to become a culture ambassador for KWRI. Got to stand on stage with Mo Anderson and the rest of the culture ambassadors that year, which was amazing. Have been a 3-time, will be 4-time Circle of Excellence recipient. Next year, I also have the honor to be the 2021 president of our local association, the North Central Jersey Association of Realtors. At the state level, I happen to be a director there. At the national level, I just finished my term as on one of the committees, and next year I'll be an advisory board member on the Young Professionals. I serve locally at the Board of Education, and I happen to be a United States Air Force combat veteran, served for 6 years. I did 5 tours, and that's something that I hold near and dear to my heart, veterans. With that, I hope you got a little understanding as to who I am. And what we're here for today is the 6 personal perspectives. In essence, what it is, it's a foundational perspective to propel you to the highest level of achievement. And I always talk about, the history when I like to do things or talk about things. So we're gonna go into that a little bit. Gary Keller, as you all know, the driving force between KW, now the CEO of KW, he stepped back into that role. When he was a young man out of college, he knew that he wanted to be successful. In school, he got a degree in business with the major in real estate, right? So he got that background in. And when he started as an agent, he worked within a traditional brokerages. And he realized that, yes, he was getting a lot of leads, but they were taking 60% of his money. So what he did, he set out and wanted to make something or research, and he asked himself, well, what do I have to do to become a successful person? Yes. What was that? I'm sorry. Was that my mistake?
I think it was yeah, I'm muting them.
Okay. So, so what he did, he took years and he analyzed and he studied some of the most successful people. Think about like the Warren Buffetts in this world, the Steve Jobs, the any of those successful people that are out there. And he asked himself two questions. What is it that differentiates those people who achieve at the highest level from those that don't seem to quite make that level, right? What do they have in common? Those are the two questions. What is it that differentiates them and what they have in common? And he found that a lot of them had degrees. They were all successful in their own ways, but not many of them really reached that top, that 1%, right? The very, very top. He read books, he researched, he interviewed, he talked to a lot of these people, and he ended up with this course that we have here today, the 6 Personal Perspectives. Out of that, what he realized is that the way that we think is the #1 issue, because the way that you act is a result of the way that you think, right or wrong? Yes. So if you want to be more productive out of the actions, if you want, yes, anybody wanted to say something? No? Okay. Yeah, if you want to be more productive out of your actions, you really want to get, I'm sorry, I'm going to mute that real quick. Okay, thank you.
I keep trying to mute him.
You have to follow these steps, right? You have to have habits. And then in addition to that, you have to really find out what it is that you need to have in place to be able to get to those things. And going back to mindset, if you have read, and I hope you all did, not the 6 Personal Perspectives, the MREA, right? Our Bible, it's the real estate Bible that we have, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You'll notice that the first 130 something pages or so, it's literally all about mindset. Gary Keller did that intentionally, knowing that mindset is the key to be able to, everything else will follow along behind that. And if you didn't read the book, so the first 136 pages, in essence, it's about, the main story that comes to mind is when you have the child that's hunting for the wolf, I believe it is, and ultimately to be able to catch the wolf, he had to aim high to be able to get it. Cool. A little bit of the history behind it. So what are the 6 perspectives? So you have step 1 is commit to self-mastery, right? I'm going to nail it. I'm going to master this particular topic. Step 2 is commit to the 80-20 principle. And as we go through each step, you'll see and you'll notice how they each build on each other and rely on each other. This is why it's important to learn all of them and not just one. Step 3 is move from E to P. And I'll go into that a little deeper as to what it actually is and how I interpret it. Step 4 is make learning based the foundation of your action plan. Step 5 is remove limiting beliefs. We all have them. It's obvious. It's just about working through them. And then step 6 is being accountable. I'll keep that there for another second or so you guys can write that down. And I see we have some chats here. Awesome. All right, good. So step 1, commit to self-mastery. So while we're on this, mastery obviously is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make one the master of a subject. When you're committed to achieving mastery, you know your goals, you know your strengths and your weaknesses, and you know how to work with both your strengths and your weaknesses to reach your goals. So as I'm going to go over to the next slide, but if you guys can just think, when you think of mastery, who comes to mind to you? Even if it's self-mastery, who's somebody that comes to mind that you feel is a master at that particular subject? And I'm going to ask you guys in a minute to provide your insight on that. So self-mastery, you can read it there, but it's your ability to change your own behavior at will, right? Something like this, the road to mastery of a chosen subject is the road to mastering the basics of self as it relates to that particular subject. And only when you achieve self-mastery can you then really develop and achieve mastery of a topic or a task of your choosing. Whether it's, we can narrow it down to real estate, whether it's farming, whether it's cold calling, whether it's networking, whether it's recruiting, whether it's whatever the case may be, right? You have to first be a master of yourself to be able to master something else. It's something that doesn't happen overnight. As you can see here, it's a journey, not an event. So can some of you guys share who are masters that you think of in a particular subject or it can be a sport. I say sport because I use a sport, and I'll share mine as well. Anyone?
Eddie Van Halen.
There you go. Boom. Phenomenal, amazing. I'm sure he's Hall of Fame status.
Yeah.
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, good. Somebody else mentioned LeBron. Rafael Nadal, tennis, absolutely. Michael Jordan, that's my favorite.
Jordan.
Kobe. I love that. That's it. Yeah, you guys got it. Exactly. You absolutely mentioned people who are masters at their practice. You also have Bruce Lee, right? And I'm gonna personally speak on Michael Jordan because he's my absolute favorite. And Janet, I think you wrote that because you've seen my class before. But Michael Jordan, if you realize, he is known as this legendary Hall of Fame person, right? But what you might not think of is that it took him 7 years of mastering his craft to finally win what everyone in the NBA or anyone that plays professional sports did, to win that championship. That's proof that it doesn't happen overnight. And it took him 4 or 5 years to realize what his weaknesses were, to then work on those weaknesses to be able to, balance that, right? And I can speak specific when he started reaching the Eastern Conference Finals, and he played against what they call the bad boy Pistons, where they were a stronger team. They kind of held them down. He realized that he wasn't as strong or as big as he needed to be, and that's what he focused on. Lo and behold, championship came 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 championships later. He is not known as the person that we know today. So that's somebody that I think about, on a personal side. But when I think of real estate, and this is my personal opinion, somebody that's a master that I've had the pleasure of witnessing in person, Chris Suarez. He literally verbatim can quote page 22 of the MREA without looking at it. He has implemented what he's learned in his business, has grown it to a level where I believe he's already across the nation, potentially even globally. But yeah, we have many people that have those traits within our company. Chris Suarez, Cody Gibson, Gene Rivers, anybody. Linda McKissick, when you think of profit share, right? 1 million plus. Unbelievable. But yeah, those are people that are masters. And thank you guys for sharing your part. And here's that first video. Can you hear it? Thumbs up.
Yep.
G'day, I'm Bruce Hardy, and I'm committing to self-mastery. This is one of the main 6 perspectives that I think we all need to focus on, particularly if we want to take our business and our lives to the highest level. When I was younger and lived in Australia, a good friend of mine was a black belt in karate. He invited me to participate in karate, so I joined. I was a white belt. And after about 6 weeks or so, we were one day practicing sparring. And it was interesting because we were throwing a punch, relatively simple, straightforward punch. We both knew how to do it. The idea was that you would throw the punch and you would stop 2 inches from the other person's face. So my friend, the black belt, would do it, and he would snap, his gi would snap, and I had wind hitting me in the face, and it was just beautiful the way he threw it. Then it was my turn, and I got down and I went whack, and I watched my friend fall to the floor because I hit him instead of stopping 2 inches in front of his face. We both knew how to do it. He'd mastered it, I had not. I will tell you, I brought the same approach to my real estate business. I realized my focus had to be on listings. And what I did was, by focusing on my listing presentation, practicing over and over and over again, I was able to list over 250 homes a year. There's a wonderful saying out there, and that is, amateurs practice, professionals practice and never get it wrong. My question to you, are you an amateur or are you a professional? Commit to self-mastery.
I love that video, and it always reminds me of my own personal journey when I first got into real estate. So I actually happen to be wearing today, I don't know if you guys can see it, the KW shirt, never settle, never give up. And it has the little KW logo right at the bottom there. But what that reminds me of is when I first got into the business and I had no sales background, right? I didn't have what I thought was a database that I could plug into, right? I lived in an apartment building growing up, and many other people that live in that apartment building, they have been there for 30 plus years. And then the mindset that I had at the time was, these people aren't gonna move. Long story short, my first, I think it was 3 or 4 months or so, I happened to go on 41 listing appointments and got 41 no's, right? By the time for me to finally get to one yes. So what I'm saying with that is just, again, just never give up. Keep on practicing until you master it. And when you master it, you're still going to be more to learn. So just always continue to learn and continue to push through. Never give up, never settle. So that takes us into our step 2, right? It's committing to the 80-20 principle. Now I'm going to bring up the slide where it pretty much gives you the history of the 80-20 principle, but I'm going to ask if you guys can please share what your knowledge is in regards to the 80-20 principle or the 80-20 rule. Anyone? If not, I'll go into it, no worries.
Kind of like you combine more, like, what am I trying to say? Like productive actions as opposed to like going on 100 doing 100 listing presentations and they're of like 10% quality. You would do like, 20 or 40 listing presentations and they're like 80% quality. That's going to lead to pretty much like 80% of your results. You get it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I get what you're saying. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So in essence, and I love that you said that. So the 20%, if you think about it, are the big rocks. And we'll go into that a little bit later, right? When you focus on the 20%, when you focus on those big rocks, when you focus on the things that are important, like you mentioned, and I'm sorry, I didn't see your name pop up, but you'll get 80% of your results will come from it. 80% of what you want will come from the 20% of what you do. And I hope that makes sense. And a little bit, if you read a little bit of the history here, you'll be able to see how that kind of came to play and how it came out. Cool, makes sense? So I'm gonna go into this next slide, and this happened to be the only video that didn't transfer over for some reason, but I'm gonna play it here.
Good afternoon, everyone. We all have this one life to live. A fleeting shadow amongst all that exists in this vast universe. We have the ability to accomplish anything, truly anything, if we use our time wisely. Is this jar full? Is it full now? And how about now? Is the jar full now? Yes. Yeah, it is. Now, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. Golf balls are the important things, your family, your friends, your health, and your passions. The pebbles are the other important things, your car, your job, your home. And the sand is everything else. It's just the small stuff. Now, if you put the sand in the jar first, you won't have room for the pebbles or the golf balls. And the same is true in life. If you spend all your energy and your time on the small stuff, you won't have time for all the really important things that matter to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. Take care of the golf balls first, the really important things. Set your priorities, because everything else is just sand. Yes.
Professor, what does the beer represent?
I'm glad you asked. It goes to show that no matter how full your life may seem to be, there's always room for a couple of beers with a friend.
I love that video. Are we back? You can see the slide again? Okay, thank you. So yeah, a big thing with that, you have to have balance in life, whether it's personal, business, everything has to align and give you that balance. So from that video, you saw the golf balls, which in essence, that comes up to the 20%, the big rocks. The big rocks must go in first, right? Because that's how you're going to be able to fund your life, the life that you want to have. The jar symbolizes your life. Everything in there represents a priority in your life. Big rock represent the highest priorities. If you think of business, that's lead generation, that's writing appointments, writing contracts, closing deals, things like that. Those are the major priorities, right? 20%. And then everything else is the list of essentially like non-negotiable things. I mean, that's the big rocks, I'm sorry. Everything else is things that are just a little less important, a little less of a priority, but there's something that still needs to be in your life. Um, One of the quotes that I took away from the one thing is activity is often unrelated to productivity, and busyness rarely takes care of business. So with that, let's go into the 411. Are you all familiar with the 411? And then second and third question, is there anybody here that implements a 411 regularly, and how do you implement it? If you want to jump in on there. Anybody? So
No.
411, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not familiar with per se the 411, but our team, we do use 10-4. It's similar.
Okay.
It's, we break it down to like 10 connections a day, 10 like conversations. So it's kind of the same principle.
No, I didn't.
Of which you're, setting a weekly, if not daily task pretty much
Sure.
for, your larger goals. This is Janae, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Janae. Yeah, and so as you can see here, in essence, the 411 is pretty much your daily activity plan, which leads into your weekly activity plan, which leads into your monthly and then annual. And you work it, if you've ever seen it, I should have an example. Next time I'm going to add one on there. On the top is what is your annual goal? Then you're going to see the the monthly goals that you need to do to accomplish it. Then it breaks down into the 4 weekly things each week to lead to that. And what I want to say about the 411, it's a living, breathing document. You might have a goal per month of, let's say, 20 appointments. I'm just throwing a number out there, 20 appointments. And if you're on week 1 and you only had 3 appointments, you're going to have to reevaluate that in week 2 and either double down on how many appointments you do on week 2, 3, and 4. Or if you have to adjust the monthly, you might have to do that. But it's something that you should be looking at on a daily basis, if not weekly for sure. One of the most important things about the 411, for me personally, is time blocking. Time blocking is super, super important. I know I skipped onto the video. I'll play that.
Hi, I'm Madison Offenhauser, and I am committed to the 80-20 principle. I can say that honestly, I'm committed to it now. I wasn't always. I remember back when I was a team leader, and I was going to also become an OP. Back then, I think I was a really expert list maker. And I thought I was good at prioritizing what was on that list, but I felt so incredibly torn trying to get all the things done in a day that were important to get done. The big rocks were mixed in with the small things, and I just found that wasn't really working, to the point that I was about to give up my OP role. And I started to interview people through the RS process to replace myself. And in the process of that, oddly enough, just like before we go on vacation, I got my house in order, so to speak. I identified the big rocks that I really needed to get done. And in the process of doing that, I found that I was organizing myself really to the 80-20 principle. So once I realized that, I thought, you know what? I think I can actually continue to do both of these roles. And truly, it was the 80-20 principle. I started focusing on my big rocks first. Instead of having a big list where my big rocks were mixed in, I do them first now. Those are definitely done, because obviously if I'm focusing on my 20%, my big rocks, 80% of the results are going to come from those 20. It has been life-changing for me. and my results are much greater. The other part of it is I found I became so much more time efficient that I actually am capable of handling more roles and accomplishing more things than I ever thought was possible before. And it's all because of the 80-20 principle. I truly am committed to it. Are you committed to the 80-20 principle?
So that was a pretty good one too, right? Pretty insightful. Before we move on to this time blocking, well, I guess this is part of the time blocking thing. So if you think about it, in our office, David always preaches, right? You have to on a daily basis, on a very, very minimum, do 2 hours of lead gen per day, right? So if you think about the 80-20 rule, I don't know very many agents that only work 8 hours. We generally work 10 hours plus. So let's say if we're doing the 10 hours of real estate work, the 80-20 principle applies perfectly to that, where 2 hours of that time is your big rocks. It's your lead generation. Make sense? I hope that gives it a little more clarity um, uh, in real estate in particular. So yeah, time blocking, as I mentioned, is one of the most important pieces. As you read that truth there, what I want to emphasize is, Gary Keller, Steve Jobs, Warren Buffett, David and Maureen, Debbie, Linda. I know there's many agents here as well. They all have the same 24 hours in the day, right? It's about what you do with your time to make sure you're being productive with that time. Make sense?
Ivo, may I add?
What's that?
It's me, Janet. I just want to add to let everyone know, just ask yourself, the activity that you're doing at the moment that you're doing it, is it helping you produce income or is it an expense? Always ask yourself that. So like that you could apply the time blocking, the managing your 80-20. It's very important. Ask yourself, is it generating income or is it an expense? Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. I love that. That goes back to the MREA, the Red Book, right? Where you're supposed to have your calendar color coded on things that are productive or helping you reach to your goal, as well as the red light, green light concept. So thank you, big time. Ways to kind of time block to manage your 80-20. Be consistent enough to set the habit. I know many of you guys already know, but as you know, it takes 66 days to be able to set a habit. So have it in your calendar to do it 66 days. If you're on day 64 and you don't do it on 65th day, you have to start all over, right? You have to be accountable to yourself as well. 66 days, set that habit, be consistent with it. Be thoughtful and purposeful about the items you put on your calendar. Again, that goes into color coding. If you read in the MREA, it tells you how you should color code what your activity is, so that when you get to that point, maybe you realize this maybe isn't something as important, and maybe I can spend some more time following up or something that's part of your big rocks. Always time block, here you go, for the big rocks that ensure you the success and the success of your business. And if you erase it, you must replace it. We understand life happens. There's emergencies that come up. Things that you are out of your control might happen. So if you have to, for some reason, cut your lead generation time off, or whatever the case may be, know that you have to replace it, whether it's later on in the day or double down on the next day. But always make sure that you have that allotted time completed. So this is one of my favorite. I'll give you a golden nugget that I took out of this one. So the world doesn't know what your purpose is or what your priorities are, and they aren't responsible for them. You are. So in the past, and many of us probably do it, right? We'll work with buyers, take them out everywhere, anytime. We're kind of working on their demand. They give us a text, we run out, stop whatever we're doing and run out to show them a property, right? If they don't know what your schedule is, if they don't understand that there's certain days or certain times that you can't do things. Hey, on weekdays from this time to this time, I have to pick up my son, or I have to do this. They're more than willing. What I've learned is that they're willing to work around your schedule, so long as you let them know, right? You set the expectation, or maybe on Sundays I don't, or on this day or on that day, I don't work because of this reason or that reason. Just set the expectation, let them know. And oftentimes than not, you'll see that they'll respect that. And even when they send things out to you, they'll even just not bother you during that time frame, if that makes sense. So always set the expectation from the beginning, and oftentimes they'll respect that for you. Cool, I hope that helped. And I'm gonna go into the chat real quick because I see we had a bunch of them. Oh, awesome. So you have a blank 401 that was posted into the chat. If you don't have one, yeah, that's an example you can use. Thank you for bringing that up there. So ways, hello, anyone wanted to mention anything?
No, I was just saying you're welcome. I added it. I know I hit it twice, but the second one is the blank one that doesn't have a title, name of a market center on there. I just went online to get it because mine was filled out, so I was trying to find it blank.
Thank you, India. Thank you. Appreciate that. So ways to protect your time block, right? You build a bunker. That's finding a place where you'll be completely uninterrupted, whether it's an office space and you can close the door, whether in your office you have an area where you can just cold call, whatever the case may be, where nobody's going to interrupt you. Step 2, store provisions. That means store whatever supplies, snacks, drinks that you need. Make sure you have them on hand so you avoid leaving your bunker area. So what happens when you oftentimes leave your bunker? You get distracted. You go outside, you might see a colleague, or let's say, for example, here at home, right? Because many of us are working from home. I've still been working from home. If I leave my little bunker and that TV's outside, that's going to suck all of my energy and all my time, and I'm going to get stuck in front of that screen, even though I should really be doing what I need to be doing. So make sure you have those things that you need so that you won't have to go out and get a drink of water or grab a pack of walnuts or whatever the case may be, because you're going to get distracted. It's inevitable. And what you think is going to be 5 minutes ends up being 45 minutes. 3, sweep for minds. I love this one. Make sure I usually say make sure you turn off your phone, but we oftentimes use our cell phones for lead generation. So what I'll say is make sure you turn off your Facebook notification, your Instagram notification, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever thing that's going to, again, suck your attention away and take too much time out of your lead generation. Keep your emails closed out, because as soon as you see that thing pop up, oh, the squirrel effect comes up. Squirrel, and you go and read your email. I do it all the time. That's why I'm mentioning it. Important work, your lead generation, your calls, your follow-ups, it deserves 100% of your attention. So make sure that you stick to that, okay? And then the last thing is, enlist support, whether that's letting your family know, from X time to X time, this is what I'm going to be doing. Please no interruptions unless it's an emergency, life and death situation, or whatever the case may be. That goes back to setting the expectations. In addition to letting your family know, just let people know what your schedule is and when you're available for them. Clients, friends, family, all of that good stuff. I can say Debbie in our office is the best at this, because anytime I oftentimes have something and I go and knock on her door for something and I see that she has her door closed with a big flyer, I'm doing my one thing. So I'll know I'm not going to bother her during that time. Cool. So step 3, that leads us to step 3, which is move from E to P. If you look at the MREA, it tells you is move from entrepreneurial to move to purposeful. The way I interpret it, just to give you a little bit of a better idea, is move from what's easy to what's painful. And I'm going to play this video so you can get a better idea on that, and we'll discuss it a little further.
Hi, I'm Brenda Benson, and I've experienced moving from E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. And I want to share a personal story with you about how that happened in my own career. As I entered the real estate field, I began to lead generate. And in my lead generation process, I just kind of winged it. That's what I call E. I was not purposeful. I lead generated when it was convenient. I lead generated when I was around familiar faces. I lead generated when I was in a familiar environment. And guess what? My results reflected the haphazardness of that lead generation. When I became purposeful, my results showed that purposefulness. As I looked to pick up the phone and make those calls, and I blocked time for my lead generation, my appointments went up. When my appointments went up, my actual results reflected those appointments. So I know in my own life, just through lead generating and knowing when I was in E versus when I was in P, that my results were different when I became a purposeful lead generator. And I know that can happen for you. So let me share with you 5 quick concepts that really helped me move from E to P. Number one, focus. Focus on that 20%. Number two, create strategies and action items that will support you staying in that focused 20%. Number three, follow the model. The next item would be to install and implement the systems. Implement systems that support the model. And finally, number five, be accountable. Make sure that you're tracking and you're looking at, as I was, the entrepreneurial piece versus the purposeful piece. So if you are willing to embrace these 5 quick concepts that I just shared with you, your world can change just like mine has. Are you willing to move from entrepreneurial to purposeful?
Awesome. I really do love these videos. So in essence, the 5 things that she mentioned there, and the way I remember it is FAMSA. Cody Gibson had taught me that early on, and it's stuck in my head. So it's focus, options, models, systems, accountability. So what is it? So in essence, moving from E to P is when you're in E and you're reaching that ceiling of achievement year after year after year, right? Whether it's I'm stuck on doing X amount of transactions per year, or every month I'm only able to close X transactions. And it happens time and time and time again, right? Being stuck at a certain level, even though you're working super hard and you feel like you're working harder, but you're like stuck, right? Or not having enough time. This is a key. We're not having enough time for family and friends for months in a row, back to back to back, even though you're trying to manage your time as best as possible. And everybody has a natural ceiling, right? Everybody's ceiling is also different, but this will help you get through that. Again, change doesn't happen by accident. You have to be purposeful about it. Again, there's that word, that purposeful about it. In order to overcome and change the situation, you must also get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Different ways to get there, right? You can break through with coaching, with training. You know, you guys being here is one piece within that. It's taking that initiative to learn more and continue to grow, and also be able to connect with people that are kind of like-minded, and help each other together to get through that. And at that point, once you get to that P, to that purposeful, it becomes that that ceiling of achievement that was your ceiling then becomes your floor, if that makes sense. I drew a blank very quickly, but I wanted to mention something about E to P. It'll come to me. I'm so sorry. So that kind of leads us into the next thing, which is make learning based the foundation of your action plan. As I mentioned before, becoming a father, one of the things that I've picked up on is reading, right? I read so much to my kid, and he loves like Dr. Seuss books. And one of the things I picked up on, or one of the quotes that I took from Dr. Seuss is, the more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go. Now, this is Dr. Seuss that oftentimes write these books for little kids, but that applies to our lives just as much, right? There's always room to grow. You'll never, ever, ever know it all, no matter what you think. So you must continue to learn. And this is something that I personally have taken year after year. I've gone to mega family reunion every year. We have mega camp. We have all these trainings. Whenever the region has like a big training or seminar locally, I always like to go to those things. So yeah, make it a plan. Make it something that's a priority on your list. Think about it this way, actually. When you think of like a doctor or an attorney, or what else can you think of that takes a long time to go to school for? Any of those people, or professionals, whatever the case may be, right? They go to school for, 4, 8, 10, 12 years minimum. We have the privilege to be able to start working after only doing, is it 50 hours now? I think it's 50, right? Or 70, what are 50 hours? We can literally work and make money, right? But in order for you to get to that level that you want to, you have to continue to educate yourself, right? You're doing on-the-job training, you're attending these seminars, you're meeting people that are levels and levels above you, where you'll be able to kind of take nuggets from them and learn from there. So make it for your first 4 or 5 years minimum, make that your number one priority. School, learning, conferences, seminars, regional training, office trainings. I know our offices have done so much for us, and thank you guys for doing all of that. Think about this pandemic, how all these offices have just shifted so quickly and been able to provide so much training virtually, which we didn't have as accessible as we have now. So thank you guys for that. A learning-based individual is an individual who has made the decision to use effective learning as the foundational piece for their action plan. I'm not going to harp on that anymore. I think I covered that a little bit on the last one. Higher achievers, the people that are those 1%ers, those successful people that we look up to, they reach their goals by making training, education, and self-development the foundational piece to their action plan. I'm going to go into a quick video so you can get an insight on Georgia here, actually.
Hi, I'm Georgia Alpazar, Regional Director of the North Florida region. I made learning-based the foundation for my action plan from the time I started with Keller Williams in 1999. I quickly learned that Keller Williams was a training and coaching company that happened to sell real estate. I was amazed at all of the training available to help agents go from having a sales job to teaching them how to run a real estate business and develop into leaders. As a former team leader in Plano, Texas, I took every opportunity to attend agent training classes and leadership classes. I then brought that information back to our market center and used this to teach our agents. I know that being learning-based and continuing to attend the KWU and regional training events resulted in my leadership opportunities in Keller Williams as a team leader and now in my OP, regional director, and master faculty roles. Being learning-based provides you the opportunity to use the 80-20 model effectively to master what you need to do to stay in your 20%. It is the key for moving from E to P, as you need to learn new models and systems to break through your current ceiling and you continue to reach new ceilings. How do you break through limiting beliefs without learning what it will take to get you out of that fixed mindset and move you into unlimited thinking? Learning-based is being accountable to the learned activities you need to do to grow your business and not go into victim mode. All of this takes you to mastery, the mastery of you to have unlimited opportunities in Keller Williams. Make learning-based the foundation of your action plan for unlimited success. I did.
Whoops, I didn't mean to skip it that fast. So even, I mean, these slides, I've kind of came up with them like a few years ago, and I've taught it time and time again, and I look into these videos time and time again. And even me that does this all the time, I'm still taking notes, right? So what came out of that for me was oftentimes you need to repeat some classes time and time again, right? It's only in our human nature to regurgitate so much of what we learn. And when you take it a second time, oh, the light bulb clicked on. Wait a minute. And then it's like, wow, now I can implement this moving forward. Because although you spend however many hours learning something, you can only regurgitate so much. Think of the 80-20 principle. That kind of applies to it right there. And then the second thing that I just heard about, that Georgia reminded me about, was, are you guys all familiar with the opportunity map within KW? Yes, no, maybe so. So in essence, what it is a roadmap. I guess the roadmap is what it's called. It's a roadmap for opportunities for us as agents within KW. Whether you started as a single agent to building your team, or whether you take another road and you become, whether it's team leader, OP, whatever the case may be. Long story short, if any of you guys are interested in seeing where KW can take you, reach out to your team leaders and ask about that opportunity map, or that roadmap, I think it's called. Cool. So part of learning based, right? We happen to have some amazing books here that are extremely useful for us, right? MREA, we should all have read it. If you didn't read it, I think I've gone through it 4 times at least, highlighted it. I even bought the one, where is mine at? I even bought the one with all the tabs and everything. Oh, you can't really see it on there, sorry. I even bought the one with all the tabs and everything, because my first one's kind of like all ripped up and stuff. But MREI for the real estate investors, how to flip a property, how to buy and hold a property. Shift, if you haven't read it, I mean, you might be a little bit behind the curve, but Shift is definitely coming in the next year or so. Read it. It'll help you learn tactics and activities that you should be doing to be able to sustain real estate business throughout a shift commercial if you're in the commercial realm of things. And then last but not least, the one thing. I attribute a lot of my disciplines, things that I've learned to this book right here. The one thing, it helps you kind of cut through clutter. It helps you build momentum towards your goals. It helps you dial down on stress, overcome that overwhelmed feeling that we all obviously get. Helps you revive that energy, stay on track, and it helps you remember what matters to you the most, right? On a daily basis, right? What is that one thing? In addition to the one thing, I hope you guys are all familiar with, with what we have at KW Maps Coaching. We have group coaching, we have individual one-on-one breakthrough coaching, and then we also have mastery maps coaching. And in addition to that, KW Connect, I always point to that because I've personally taken, I know we have a lot of stuff on command too now, where I've personally taken many of the templates that I use to this day from Connect. Many agents, that's one of the things I love about KW. Agents are willing to share what they've done, what they've accomplished, what they've created, so that you can cut off 2, 3, 4, 5 years of learning and going through these mistakes, and just implement what they've given you and what they've provided to you. And a lot of it can be found there at KW Connect. And before we move forward, I see we have a couple of questions. 1 second. Where can we get all those books at a discounted price? I can say if you reach out to your team leader, many of them might have them. So reach out to your team leaders. Hope that helps. Hands up, no problem, thank you. So before I go to the next slide, now I really want to see some hands up from people here. How many of you guys, I'm going to ask a question, and then I want you all to participate. How many of you guys, and I have you on my screen on this side, which is why I'm looking at here now. How many of you guys can draw?
Not me.
Awesome. So we have, let's see.
I can.
We have 79 people on this call, and 3 people raised their hands. All right, cool. That's perfect. This is perfect. So now think about.
I don't like to say that I don't know, because if I try, I can get something out that is pretty legit.
Awesome. No, thank you, Joanna, and thank you guys for the ones that participated. So in essence, this is a perfect example here. So think about this, right? If I were to ask this very same question, if I were to ask how many of you can draw to a group of first graders, how many of them do you think would raise their hands?
All of them.
Every single one without hesitation. They're going to be jumping out of their seats wanting to draw right then and there, right?
So all of us can draw.
So what happens in our minds is that we now have a limiting belief as an adult that we probably didn't have as a child. Now, we all have limiting beliefs. There's no doubt about that, right? When we think something is true, we make it true. If you believe you can do something, or if you believe you can't do something, you're ultimately right. So with that, that leads us into our next step, which is remove your limiting beliefs. So high achievers, they remove those limiting beliefs from their mindset, right? And many of us have it, right? It's, I don't have enough time for training, or I can't be successful in this market, right? It's too competitive. There's so many agents out there. New Jersey, we have about 58,000 agents. You throw a rock, you're gonna hit 3 agents, right? I can't devote 3 hours to training, or I can't devote 3 hours a day to lead generation. What we need to do is kind of rewire our brains. And I give the Pat Mancuso, when I took my first bold, kind of implemented this in my head. We got to rewire our brains and think of things like, if I put the time in now for training, I'll reap the long-term benefits of my business, right? Or a competitive market, gives me the opportunity to brand myself personally, or gives me the opportunity to get to know my neighbors personally, because people ultimately want to do business with people that they like, right? And then the last thing, I can't afford to miss 3 hours of lead generation. It's my future. The greatest barrier that we have is the greatest barrier to the potential that we have is our denial of it, right? We oftentimes stop ourselves from being able to do the things that we want to do. And I'll let you hear. Here we go.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Jackie Ellis, and I'm here to talk to you about removing your limiting beliefs. Shortly after joining Keller Williams, I began attending all of the fabulous events available to us, like Mega Camp and Family Reunion. And on the stage were amazing agents openly sharing their strategies for success. And I, very much like you, would be in the audience, writing down notes and taking those strategies back to my own marketplace, which I did implement. Well, a few years after attending Mega Camp, once again in the audience, I realized as I was looking up at these amazing agents that they had fabulous businesses and that I would never have that sort of a high volume, high impact business. So when I got back into town, I took a quiet moment to myself and I took out a piece of paper and wrote a line down the middle. And on the left side, I wrote all of the things that I had going for me on my side that I could use to create one of these fabulous businesses. I had the training, and I could take the training through Keller Williams as many times as I wanted. There were models that if I just followed them, I could be a success like those on stage. And there were systems as well. After completing the left side of my page, I went over to the right side and I began to write what would be holding me back. And as I stared at the right side, I could not think of one thing to put on that piece of paper. I realized it was my limiting beliefs, my very own limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And once I removed them, there would be no holding me back. So fast forward to now, and those very agents that I saw on stage are now my friends. And I'm well on the track to one of those very businesses that I so admired. I want to know, do you have limiting beliefs? Do you recognize them? And what are you going to do to remove them?
Yeah, we all definitely have them, for sure. So that leads us into step 6, which is be accountable. So I once read this book, Unapologetically You by Steve Maraboli, and I'm going to read a quick quote that I took from there. So your complaints, your drama, your victim mentality, your whining, your blaming, and all of your excuses have never gotten you even a single step closer to your goals or dreams. Let go of your nonsense. Today is a new day. You know, accountability, it's first and foremost, it's an attitude and an approach to your entire life, business, personal. An accountable person, they're going to say something like, everything in my life is a result of my choices and my actions. I own my life, right? Everyone, again, has moments of victim mentality, but change can only happen when we make a conscious decision to stop being a victim and start being accountable. Being a victim is pretty much focusing on the things that you really usually don't have any control over. But being accountable is when you're ready to focus on the things that are within your control. So as you see here, being a victim usually doesn't seek reality. They usually fight the reality, the truth, blames others, always making personal excuses, and then you wait and hope that something will happen. But when you're accountable, you seek the reality. You know, what is it? You evaluate. What is it that's really causing me from not reaching my goals or passing my ceiling of achievement? Let's narrow down on that, really figure out what it is. You acknowledge it. Once you realize what it is, yes, this is it, right? Own it, all right? Realize what you did, what you need to do to move forward, right? Find those solutions, and then what I like to call Nike it, right? You get on with it, you Nike it, you just do it, right? I see something in the chat. What is the name of the book you just quoted? Oh, awesome. So Unapologetically You. I'm gonna see if I can put it in the chat here. Yes, thank you for the question. So accountability, when you think of accountability, somebody like Mo Anderson, which I hope all of you happen to know who she is. She's the vice chairman of the board. She, as you can see here, she has someone holding her accountable in many different areas of her life. Not only one person, as you can see, she has two. In her financial realm of her life, in the spiritual arena of her life, her physical arena of her life, and in her business arena of her life. So I challenge you guys to ask yourself, do you have a financial, a spiritual, a physical, a business consultant, or are you just winging it? When a person takes the time to report to someone else how and what they did in moving towards their goals, it lends even more focus and motivation to your activities. Also ask yourself, are there some areas where you're missing someone to hold you accountable? Keep in mind, we have team leaders that are here for us. We have, again, KW Math coaching. We have productivity coaches. I'm sure you have agents within your office that would be willing to do that, right? Reach out. I mentioned it before. KW, that's what I love about KW is we're about sharing. We're about giving back. Come from contribution. Janet, I remember my first class ever with you, and that always stuck in my head. So thank you for that. But yeah, who are you going to add? Also keep in mind that it doesn't necessarily have to be a different person for each arena, right? For each aspect. You can have, for example, a business consultant that's also your financial consultant. I hope that makes some sense. And then here I'm going to play a little bit of Gina Ron and about accountability.
Hi, I'm Gina Ront, and I'm here to talk to you about accountability and what accountability means to me. You know, accountability in all reality is that it's the foundation of your day. And when I wake up in the morning, for me to go work out, if I don't have some kind of accountability, it doesn't happen. And so what do? I have a trainer. I pay him, therefore it forces me to show up and work out early in the morning. We have so much natural ability, and it's get us so far in life. But the reality is, without some structure and some accountability, that allows us to move past our natural tendencies. So for an example on accountability inside of our real estate team is our 411s, which is our accountability tool that Keller Williams has taught us to use with our team members. And so we find out what are their yearly goals, how can we break that into a monthly goal, and then how can we do that into 4 weeks, each week, moving them towards that. And it's not just about business goals and financial goals, but it's personal goals. I find out what's important to them, they find out what's important to me, and together we grow the business. Accountability isn't always roses. Sometimes life steps in, and the cool thing about Keller Williams is we really focus on identifying that. We've got the tools to understand when you're heading off the road of accountability and blaming yourself, blaming others, because you're not going to get anywhere. And so that's where accountability steps in. And you can make the decision to step out of that, move forward, get back into the language that's going to move you forward, and use the tools that these perspectives give you. Having that and having a plan and focusing back on that is where accountability can totally make a difference, change your life, and quite frankly, change your family's life, your destiny, your legacy.
So a few years ago in family reunion, I want to say it was in Vegas, when we were in Vegas, I ran into him in a hallway and I was like, Gene, oh man, you're the best. Can I use you as a practice partner? Long story short, he gave me his a team member of his that happened to be his accountability partner, and we script practice for about 3 years every week. So again, don't be afraid to reach out to KW agents, because that's one of the things that they do is give back. With that, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line, and I hope you took a lot away from today, is that you and your mindset hold the key to what you can accomplish. Attitudes and beliefs determine that mindset, and you can reach the highest level of achievement in business and in life by adopting these 6 personal perspectives. I'd love for you guys to share some ahas. I'm actually super proud of myself because this never just lasts an hour. It usually goes well beyond. So I want to thank you guys first and foremost for your time today. Time is one of the most valuable gifts you can give to someone, and I appreciate your hour today. And yeah, I'd love for you guys to share some of your ahas. What are your ahas? And I'll go to the first slide if any of you guys want to have my email, my phone number one more time. But yeah, takeaways. There we go. Anyone? I hope you all learned. That's really
the importance of snacks when you're getting yourself ready to work. Like, just be ready. Keep it all nearby. Don't get up. Don't leave your desk.
I love that, and I learned that the hard way. Oftentimes, I'd leave the office to go into the bathroom or to go into the snack room. That we have a little kitchen area. We have snacks in there and stuff like that. By the time I get back to my office, it's those distractions get in the way. 30, 40 minutes. That's why I said that. 30, 40 minutes later, I'm like, oh man, I only did an hour of lead gen and now I have an appointment at 1 or whatever the case may be. But yeah, have all those stuff prepared. Prepare. Another thing that I can share, another golden nugget that I learned to do probably the hard way as well, is make sure you spend at least whatever day you do, Saturday or Sunday or Monday or whatever day you do, take a look at your week ahead, right? So you can plan accordingly. Then the night before you go to bed or before you do your last activity, take a look at what you have for the next day so that you can prepare accordingly. And once you hit that time, you're ready to go. Thank you for bringing that up, John.
Time blocking.
Time blocking, yeah.
So time blocking. I'm one that you know, being a Gemini, and I didn't go by none of this astrological BS before, but you know, I'm the type of person that wants to do everything, and individuals with my type of mindset that always want to do everything most of the time get nothing done. You get what I'm saying? But listening to Jim Rohn and you know, India always bringing up those great perspective in all the class has really helped in you know, putting those things into perspective. Setting up your calendar ahead of time, even before the new month starts, you're just setting up everything that's gonna happen. And it's good because I set up these classes as, you know, I saw the email and it was like, oh, it's a whole month thing. Let me set it up on the calendar and just keep myself accountable. And like you said, meeting those goals that you set for yourself, even if it's the 64th day and you miss that one, you got to start from the beginning. So everything, just classes are amazing. So the perspective and the value that it brings, awesome.
Agreed. And Sosa, you're a Marine, man. So I'm gonna share this with you. You know more than anybody the discipline, bro. The discipline, having a time block and sticking to it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, 1000%, brother.
Somebody. Let's see.
A moment for me. Oh,
yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please share.
Was move from entrepreneur to professional, or E to P, because you know, in the beginning, it seems like you want to get to E, but then I like how you put it, move from what's easy to painful, because that's what it really, you know, feels like.
And it is. Absolutely. It's 100% difficult. Listen, real estate, what I learned early on, real estate, it's simple. It's just not easy. It's simple. It's just not easy. And that discipline, the time blocking, having that mindset of, listen, month after month after month, I've been stuck at this, knowing that you have to do something different and implementing that, taking massive action on that is what's going to get you through that. Thank you for sharing that. Janet mentioned in the chat, repetition is key. We will always learn something different. Now is the time to set goals for 21, 22, 23, and etc. If we don't change anything, then the following year will be the same. So she kind of reiterated, brought forth the 1-3-5, 1 year ago, 3 year ago, 5 year ago, and working backwards from that. And this actually, honestly, October, this is the time you should really be business planning for next year. Is India still on? I think so, right? There should be a business planning mastermind coming up soon. I would encourage you guys to reach out to your team leaders or agents locally that you know teach that and take that, because now's the time to be able to set your goals and set your planning for 2021.
Yep,
Makes sense?
We will have it within the first 2 weeks of November.
Perfect. Let's see, repetition. Susan, Gary always says, read things 10 times. Correct. Absolutely. And I know it's a little bit past 12, so if anybody needs to go, I completely understand. If you guys want to continue here, I'll be here until the last person's on. So what else? Repetition. Yep. Take classes more than once. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins. And it's the same thing. You do that immersion training where you're there for X amount of days. And you see these people do these things repetitively. Oh, Gina Ront, for example, he's taken both, I think 21, at this point, it's 21 plus times. Right? Why do people like that are super successful do the same, in essence, the same thing over and over and over again? Although I understand now with, you know, COVID, the most recent bolt kind of changed a little bit. But before that, it was almost just about the same, taking it time and time and time again. So there's a reason why people do that.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, this is Nancy.
Hey, Nancy.
How are you? I used to be in Clifton with you guys, and I just want to say hello to some familiar faces that I see. Janet, India, Isabel. Thank you very much for everything while I was there, and I still have to do from E to P. That's my major in limiting beliefs. I have to, work on that. But it was really nice to see you.
It's good to see you too, Nancy.
Okay.
Take care, guys. I gotta go.
And yeah, I'm glad you guys took some stuff away from here. Limiting beliefs, and you mentioned the E to P. So the E to P is key, right? I didn't really understand it early on. Like I was like, yeah, but I'm doing this stuff or I'm doing that stuff. But it's really, again, taking that accountability and being real with yourself. Like, listen, I'm really not lead generating how I should be lead generating, or I'm really not contacting those expires or those FISBOs that I know will get me to where I need to get to, that'll help me accomplish the goals that I've set out for myself, right? And it's oftentimes, again, it's just within ourselves, it's internally, we have to take that accountability.
And it's important to do it consistently. Like when that guy said that he did who was that? I came in like a little late, but I heard he had over like 250 listings, but he's like listing, presentation, and another listing, like over and over. It seems crazy, and that's challenging to do, especially when you might have had a couple of rough weeks, back to back to back. That's challenging to continue to do that for like 6 months, consistently.
Agreed. And then, so I'll just help give you a little bit of the mindset shift, right? The change, the rewiring of the mindset is every no I'm getting is one step closer to a yes.
Right.
Because if you focus on the, oh man, I got a no today, I'll tell you with those 47 listing appointments that I went on every single one of them, I learned something new that helped me get better for that one yes, right? And my conversion rate now happens to be a lot higher, but it's because of what I went through.
Right.
So we have to go through it.
Anyways, we got to wrap it up because we got another meeting coming up on this Zoom. So let's just give Jairo another big thank you and a big round of applause. It's awesome that we are going to continue to have these classes and continue to create this engagement between all of these market centers. So hopefully you guys stay plugged in, and hopefully when we have new things that we come up with, you guys have some input, maybe even some participation, and you guys could definitely get some value out of it. All right. So thank you so much, Jairo.
Thanks, Jairo.
Thank you guys again for your time.
Jairo.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Excellent class.